Okay, we have Until Dawn, based on the 2015 video game on PS4. Kind of. Not really. It's not an adaptation whatsoever, it's more of a spin-off. Other than a couple references to the game's events, it has nothing to do with that story. It's a completely new set of characters that just so happen to be in a similar situation. It takes place 1 year after the main character's sister goes missing, not unlike what happened to Josh's sisters Beth and Hannah in the game. The friend group has reunited in the place that the sister went missing, not unlike the game. The lodge they get trapped in is in a valley instead of a mountain this time, very different. And the lodge is, again, connected to an old mine that collapsed a long time ago. And some of the survivors, one way or another, became Wendigos. It's like the movie was pitched by someone who skimmed over the plot summary once back in 2015 and was just going off their vague memories. In many ways, it is pretty much the same thing again, but when it comes to the details and how the story goes down, it's so far removed, it almost makes you wonder why it's even connected to Until Dawn in the first place. The whole gimmick for the movie is that it's Groundhog Day. The valley is cursed with a time loop. Every time all the characters die, time resets itself to 6 p.m. the previous night, and they gotta try and survive all over again. Except, unlike Groundhog Day, no 2 nights are the same. There's always a new threat. First, it's a masked killer, and then there's a witch, I guess? A giant shows up for like 3 seconds. There's Wendigos, out of obligation, because seriously, their inclusion is so forced, but nobody would think it's Until Dawn without them. And also, there's water that you should definitely not drink. The only way to get out of the time loop is to survive until dawn. It's a fine gimmick for a horror movie, for sure, but that's not what Until Dawn is. That's just not even close. There was plenty of supernatural stuff in the game, but the movie takes it to new heights with reality-bending bullshit. Why is it like this? Why go this direction? Why not adapt the game straight up? It's already an interactive movie, pretty much. Just take the interactivity out of it. I'm not a purist for the game, not really, but this film doesn't justify its own existence. If it wants to go this way as a sequel or spin-off or whatever it's supposed to be, then make it fit? Make it make sense or something? And it doesn't. It fits about as well with the game as the Cloverfield paradox fits with the original Cloverfield. You remember that stupid Netflix movie? It's an entirely different beast, doing its own thing, pretty much. This psychological, mind-bending, reality-fucking sci-fi. But at the very end, the Cloverfield monster shows up, and all of a sudden, we are supposed to think, ah yes, it all makes sense. But if it's supposed to be canon, all it does is overcomplicate the lore that's already wishful thinking at best. And with the Until Dawn movie, it has Wendigos and Dr. Hill, once again played by Peter Stormare, and we're supposed to go, ah, of course! But again, it adds a bunch of new lore and new backstory details that don't flesh out this world, but rather fucks up everything for no good reason. Specifically with Dr. Hill, he's depicted here as an evil, mad scientist that I think the movie is implying created the Wendigos. At the very least, he used the valley's time loop curse to turn people into Wendigos there, though I have no idea if it's implying he had anything to do with the ones on the mountain in the game. Like, I'm pretty sure the ones in the game had existed for decades, and then he goes on to make these Wendigos for what purpose? Of course, nothing gets explained, and now that he's supposed to be evil, what does that change about everything in the game? Like, what are we doing here? And why are we doing it? Are we waiting for a sequel to the movie to explain this nonsense? Oh my god, whatever. So it's a stupid spin-off that doesn't understand its source material and just raises more questions than anything. Okay, fine. I can get over that. But is it a good movie? No. But is it an entertaining horror movie? Kinda. Like, forget that it's based on a game for a minute. Take the film on its own terms. It's not terrible. Nothing incredibly new, but I can't say it's the worst. Not the worst movie based on a game, not the worst horror movie, and not the worst movie I saw even that day. You ever seen the French movie Immortal from 2004? That's some nonsensical bullshit right there. But anyway, Until Dawn does its job reasonably well. It's not particularly scary, but the blood and gore effects are remarkably well done, all things considered. And I will say, I had to contain my laughter when they drank the water. Like, that was out of pocket. That's the one thing they didn't show off in the trailer, and it's kind of amazing. There's a lot of characters just slowly walking through places as if the tension is actually building up. It's not. And at one point, it skips ahead several nights, which threw me off. We see the first 4 or 5 nights in full, but then they skip to number 13, and apparently nobody survives the curse past 13 nights. Or is it 11? I don't fucking remember. They didn't even have a montage. Instead, it becomes a fucking found footage movie for a couple minutes. They conveniently filmed a bunch of stuff on their phones, and they just watch it to get themselves up to speed with their memory gaps. And I wish we saw more of that stuff that was on the phones. Like, come on, a montage of death, please. I think there was supposed to be a werewolf, too. Like, you see an old art piece of a werewolf in a close-up in one scene, and I swear I saw a werewolf in their phone's gallery, but we never see it. Like, come on, haven't you heard of Chekhov's werewolf? That's lame. The characters aren't as interesting as the ones from the game, clearly, but I came to like a couple of them as the film progressed. The guys were kind of pathetic and they sucked, but the girls were a little more tolerable. Ella Rubin does okay as the main girl, and Odessa Azion has a few standout moments herself. I think those two carry the movie for me. None of the actors do a bad job. Like, they're all good for what the movie is, it's just the material isn't very strong. So yeah, it mostly entertains if you're looking for decent blood and gore, but it's nowhere near as good as it should have been. Like, at a point, it doesn't even matter that it's not close to the game. I would be fine if it was good enough on its own merit, though I can't say it is. Nothing to get angry at, it's just very frustrating if you're a fan of the game. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the Until Dawn movie, and that's about it for this video. So, yeah.